What's up? Tati Raza. How you doing? ¿Cómo están esta noche? ¿Cómo les va? Everything good? Yeah, yeah. Hey, don't mind me. I'm just tearing up these now laters, feel me? These now laters. Y'all don't know nothing about now laters. If you got this new generation, this ain't Starburst. This was way before Starburst. This was the number one cat in the world. It still is. Now laters. That was cherry. I got the green apple too, baby. Green space candle. The only way I got a hold of these bad boys, the Amazon, baby. I'm a big now later type of dude. You feel me? Now later is the shit. Look, look, look at now later, baby. I went on a little sweet tooth rampage on the Amazon. Ordered all types of now laters because they don't sell them nowhere. They don't sell them anywhere, bro. I guess Starburst took their place, but they need to bring now laters back. I don't know nothing about that. But hey, what we are gonna do? A little documentary. It's called the Minnesota Mobsters Inside the Native Mob. Native Mob. Okay? That's what we're going to do today. So before we get started, man, these knowledge is busting. I got my saliva off, tasting like green apple. Man. Hey, look, hold up. Before we get started with this reaction, I'm gonna y'all my intro. Y'all already know how I do this shit. Go grab your blunts, your liquor, whatever you're gonna do to watch this. Go do that. And then hit the subscribe button for your boy. Let's get that 1K, alright? So I'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Go get your stuff ready. See you in a minute. Subscribe, vatos. Alright, man. Yeah, I didn't know the natives had a mob, bro. I thought they just had clans and tribes and just little gangbangers, you know what I'm saying? Just like everybody else. I didn't know they had a mob. We're about to find out what's up. Minnesota native mobs. Let's get it, baby. Subscribe to
Cass
the channel.
Lake, Minnesota. It
Cass
was a
Lake,
warm
Minnesota.
morning
Hold
by
on.
Minnesota standards. On the afternoon of March 4th, 2010, 30-year-old Amos Leduc was walking his 5-year-old daughter back home from daycare in the tiny Leech Lake Indian Reservation town of Cass Lake, Minnesota. It was a warm morning by Minnesota standards, but there was still snow on the ground.
I was gonna say warm. It's like it's cold in the motherfucker out there. Still has snow out there, man. It's tripping. It's like 58 right now. And I'm freezing my ass off, man. You know what I'm saying? My danglings all up in my stomach. That's how cold it is right now when you go outside. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it was different, boy. Shit. The Minnesota cold, the shit. Right now, 51 degrees outside. That's like Minnesota when the sun's out. It's nothing. It's none of them. I'm telling y'all, my shit is in my stomach. Warm the fuck, cover up, boy.
As they trotted along Tract 34. Earlier in the day, Amos had noticed a person mean-mugging him from a vehicle, but he didn't think much of it. That is, until he noticed another vehicle pulling up behind him, and a man, armed with a .40 caliber pistol and wearing latex gloves, jump out and charge towards him. Amos picked up his daughter and ran for his life as the gunman began to fire. Bullets whizzed past him as he continued to run in a straight line, giving his assailant a clear shot. He made it only a
Motherfuckers don't know how to bob and weave, baby. You better hit them. You know what I'm saying? Like real shit. Hey, I'm from Vegas. That happened to me a long time ago. I went to East Vegas, no, west side of Vegas, and it saw Bloods. No, what up? Yeah, Bloods, man. There's actually Bloods over there. And I was wearing some blue chucks, some royal blue sweats, and a white tee, and I had myself with me. I was catching the cat bus. I was getting my bus card. What up, blood? Blah blah blah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Now, walked out my son, put him in front of me. I just started running. Like the bus took off. I was just running. I was just, you know what I'm saying, hitting, like going side to side, bro. Like, they ain't gonna get no easy hit. You know what I'm saying, but you got a Bobby Weed, baby. You can't get my straight shot. Real shit, man. That shit's scary as hell. I'd rather get hit than my son. You know what I'm saying? Good thing none of us got hit. They had bad aim, but You better learn how to bob and weave, future.
A few more steps before he was struck by gunfire and fell to the ground, catapulting the little girl a few feet forward as he hit the pavement. The shooter continued to fire, but Amos LeDuc was lucky that day. It just so happened that a retired tribal officer named John Wind was driving a Chevy Avalanche down Tract 34 at that very moment and noticed the foot chase and the shooting. John Wind made a split-second decision to do something heroic. He pulled his vehicle in between Amos and the shooter, hurdling both victims into the vehicle and speeding off to a local hospital. Amos LeDuc had been struck 3 times, but his daughter was fortunate. Though one of the rounds hit her backpack and she suffered scrapes from the fall, the little girl suffered no gunshot wounds. As John
Shit, all she gonna suffer is PTSD. Real shit. That PTSD is no joke. That mental health is no joke. If you had PTSD, you know what I'm talking about. That shit's no joke, man. You had them rough ass days where, you know what I mean, that shit kicks hard.
Wind asked Amos questions to keep him awake, she screamed, "Wake up, Daddy," throughout the drive to the hospital. Amos survived, but the shooting would have grave implications for years to come. While Amos LeDuc was being tended to, police were on their way to solving the crime. As it turned out, the shooter, William Odie Morris, had run off in the confusion, while the vehicle he was in sped off in a different direction.
This is white boys going to Indian reservation and causing havoc. These are white boys getting Indian native homies and crossing the little imaginary line, bro. Making problems over there. Shit.
Police found Morris and the latex gloves he'd been wearing, and they soon identified the suspected driver, a man named Anthony Francis Cree, also known as Pun. It turned out that both Morris and Cree had something in common: affiliation with a fast-growing Midwest gang known as the Native Mob, widely considered at the time to be the most dominant Native American gang in the United States. Since 2004, the FBI and DEA had been monitoring the Native Mob with some interest, taking notes and collecting evidence just as they did with countless other gangs in the region. But after the Amos LeDuc shooting, that investigation was ratcheted into high gear. The federal government decided it would use the RICO statute to do its best to take down the Native Mob, and the main target would be its chief, a Minnesota native whom authorities blamed for bringing organization to the mob and uniting its different geographic factions under a common purpose. Soon, the U.S. Department of Justice would secure a federal indictment alleging 10 years' worth of crimes committed by Native Mob members, including the murder of a fellow Native Mob member, shot in the head as he and his killer walked through the snow in Minneapolis. But before we get into all of that, let's set the stage for how this...
Oh man, my natives cannot tag at all, bro. They got the ugly ass handwriting, bro. They got ugly ass taggings up there, bro. They just put lines together and make it look like a letter. God damn it. But I guess they'll kill you, bro. But they cannot tag a wall, bro. Do not tag up a wall, cause all that shit looks like scribble scrabble and ugly to the motherfucker. Yeah, y'all better practice y'all calligraphy, motherfucker.
This group came to exist in the first place. For centuries in Minnesota, 2 primary indigenous tribes have existed: the Lakota, also commonly known as Dakota, and the Ojibwe, also known as Chippewa, Ojibwe, and Ojibwa. So much of Minnesota's history traces back to indigenous people, including the name Minnesota itself. But in the mid-1800s, most of the state's native population was forced into reservations along the Mississippi River as the non-native population increased by 28-fold. The year 1862 saw a 6-week armed conflict known as the U.S.-Dakota War, during which the state's governor literally advocated, quote, extermination of Native Americans. Over the years, indigenous people of the Midwest were killed, forcibly relocated, stripped of land rights, kept in prison camps.
What do white people say? No, we just conquered. We conquered that land. Ah, motherfucker, y'all killed. Well, conquered. Yeah, you just conquered it. But they wasn't even fighting. They thought y'all was friendly. We conquered them. No, they were helping you guys out. Y'all just turned y'all back and killed their whole family. Cause you know, huh? They colonize. They know how to colonize like a motherfucker. They know how to take over everything. But I ain't gonna lie to you, white people. They know how to come and play stupid, look stupid, But they'll fucking when they're sleeping, we're gonna kill the whole families. Uh, Crazy, bro.
And robbed of their culture and heritage through boarding schools that were mandatory for Native youths, all at the hands of the United States government. Today, Native Americans have the highest poverty rate of any ethnicity in Minnesota, the lowest life expectancy, and make up roughly 10% of the state's prison population, despite being just 1% of the overall population statewide. In the Leech Lake Reservation, where the Amos LeDuc shooting occurred, the
Hey, y'all
unemployment
still
rate
here?
was
Y'all still watching? That's what I'm talking about. Hey, much love, much respect, man. Hey, you subscribe to the channel? Thank you. You not subscribed? Take this chance. Hit that subscribe button for me one time. Let's get that 1K going, baby. Show your exes some love, man.
double
Once
that of
again.
the country's in 2010, and the median household income was nearly $10,000 less than that of the United States as a whole. A local attorney named Timothy Aldrich testified at a RICO trial that he'd seen countless indigenous youths join gangs in his career for similar reasons. Quote, "You know, the simplest way to put it is this. People who are hurt people. And the community, the Native community, has experienced a lot of trauma and have this pain within them that seems to be carried out as internalized oppression." That brings us to the Native mob.
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. And I don't care what y'all say, man. Indians, Mexicans, we're the same thing. We are the exact same mother thing. You know what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? Aztecs, Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? We been murdered, women been raped, kids are getting killed, being oppressed. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? What does my brother say? And we been oppressed with slavery, motherfucker. That shit was like in the 1800s. We Mexicans, we natives, we been getting oppressed since like the first before man since the white man found America. Ever since then, we been getting oppressed. That's like way back then. You know what I mean? That's like before y'all even. And the sad part is that black folks, our brothers, they've been here way before that one dude Columbus said he found it. You know what I mean? Because they're in Mexico. There's a lot of black folks in Mexico. They got their own little land out there. They got what the African, the Afro Mexican, some shit like that. But they got their own land out there, their own little country. You know what I'm saying? So blacks and natives and Mexicans, we've been together for years, my boy, years before the colonizers came in and took over. But we be getting oppressed way before that damn slavery shit. You know what I'm saying? But we don't go around crying that shit every time something happens. You know, we don't go crying about that shit. We gotta push forward and keep make life better. Because if we keep crying about the past, we ain't never gonna go nowhere. The only reason we do bring it up is when people try to say, "Oh, nah, y'all gotta go back to y'all where y'all from," or "This is our land." Nah, that's when we like, "Hold up and check your history." That's when that comes out. But we don't always bring out, "Oh, we've been oppressed." Well, all I said was shit. It's 49.99 food stamps. I ain't saying nothing about your history. All I said was how you doing. I ain't want to know your history. Slavery, damn. All I said was hi. You know what I mean? We gotta bring all that shit up for. You know what I mean? But we've been oppressed for years, way before the 1800s, way before the 1500s, way before the 1300s. Years, mo. Years, mo.
The gang started in the mid 1990s as an offshoot of the Vice Lords, but only with a handful of members. The Vice Lords, one of the best known gangs in the United States, apparently started aggressively recruiting from Minnesota's indigenous population after members of the gang murdered Minneapolis police officer Jerry Hoff in retaliation for an act of police brutality by another officer, leading to a huge government crackdown against the Vice Lords. As time went on, what came to be known as the Native Vice Lords branched off to form its own thing, and ultimately dropped the Vice Lords title altogether in favor of the names Native Kings or Native Mob. At any rate, by the early 2000s, the group had spread throughout Minnesota, primarily occupying.
And that's making it even better, bro. That shows you guys that black and brown been together for a long time. You know what I'm saying? This, and he's showing paperwork, news clips, newspaper clips about this being facts. The natives and blacks were all together, bro. But nowadays, bro, y'all fighting up. We been doing we the fuck out of here.
Red Lake, Leech Lake, Cass Lake, White Earth, Fond du Lac, Duluth, South Minneapolis, and other communities. It is organized by titles like Ogema, the Ojibwe word for chief, as well as co-chief, war chief, treasurer, sergeant-at-arms, enforcer, and reps, who literally represent their respective geographic regions and are responsible for...
I'm gonna go ahead and pause that shit. So I don't know, you guys like me. I like to read the whole thing. I'm not gonna read it right now, but later on when I start, you know what I mean, uploading it, I'm gonna probably end up reading it. So go ahead, read that shit, and then hit play. I gave you enough time for you to read that shit out.
For communicating with the higher-ups in the gang. It uses symbols like a medicine wheel, with the letters N and M, and claims the colors black and red. And members are known to wear Milwaukee Brewers hats because the logo spells out M-O-B. The native mob has on-again, off-again conflicts with the native gangster disciples, the Project Boys, and other rivals that have lasted for years. But one
Boy, these are BDs. They got into with GDs, so these are BDs.
reason why the gang hadn't popped up too far on the Fed's radar prior to 2010, though, was its general lack of organization. In 2005, the native mob's co-founder, Wambly MacArthur, was sentenced to 30 years in prison for murdering 20-year-old Vincent LaRocque at the Little Earth housing complex in Minneapolis. That left a power vacuum that was quickly filled by Gordon G. Money Reese. But while Reese was credited by some with having helped start the native mob, the next 2 years saw infighting within the gang, as members of different geographical factions argued about who was really in the gang. The following year, Reese was indicted and ultimately convicted of running an extensive drug ring. He was given 30 years in federal prison. Once again, that left a void in the leadership of the native mob. And this time, the man who stepped in to fill it had a grand vision that would unite the gang and expand it beyond anything in its history. This is where Wakinyan Wakan MacArthur enters our story. Known commonly by the nickname Khan, Wakinyan MacArthur had instant credibility as Wambly MacArthur's younger brother. But he'd made a name for himself in other ways too. On December 30th, 1994, when he was just 15 years old, Khan got into an argument with someone at a house party on 18th Street South in Minneapolis. So he pulled out a gun and fired a shot. He didn't hit his intended target, but the bullet struck 29-year-old Stacy Rivers, who died the next day.
Shit always happens, huh? That shit always happens. They don't shoot the one they're trying to shoot, but they shoot some innocent people. I guess these dumbasses that don't know how to shoot is everywhere. No matter what race, that shit don't discriminate at all. That shit do not. I'm sorry to say that shit. It sounds fucked up, but it is what it is. They always end up killing the wrong person, bro. Always innocent people dying on this stupidity. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn.
Khan was charged with murder, sentenced to 12 and a half years. But because of his young age, a judge agreed to stay his sentence and give him probation, with the agreement that he could end up serving the full term if he committed another crime. Well, just 4 years after Rivers' murder, Khan was once again arrested and charged with murdering a man named Jerome Peak at another house party in Minneapolis.
Ma'am, do not allow any MacArthurs to any kind of parties, bro. Do not invite. If your last name MacArthur, Arthur, Mac, Monk, King Arthur, do not invite these motherfuckers to no them house parties. Them and house parties do not go together. Don't invite them. Please let them be.
Time, at Khan's October 1998 trial, the defense portrayed him as a peacemaker who tried to stop the violence at the party. The result was an acquittal for Khan, but also a prison sentence. After the not guilty verdict, a judge found Khan in violation of his probation and ordered him to serve the remainder of his prison sentence. He stayed behind bars until 2006. As his release date got closer, he began to put his plan in motion to unite the native mob, stop the infighting, and install discipline in the group. In 2004, he wrote a letter from prison to a close friend and confidant named Kenny Roberts, a longtime native mob member who had proved his worth time and time again. Robert's cousin had been killed by native gangster Disciple, ending a peace treaty with them, and further cementing Robert's loyalty to the mob.
Crazy.
Khan wrote to Roberts, quote, "The potential was there. We just need confidence in the leadership after we clean house. Get rid of a few studs that have been holding us back from growth. Shit is going to get real once again. I believe in that 100%. When Khan got out, Roberts was made war chief, a very important role that can include assisting with planned violence, keeping track of firearms, and dishing out punishment for violations. But even before he got out of prison, Khan was instantly thrust into controversy when Leech Lake Reservation leaders actually considered banishing him from the reservation due to his criminal record and alleged gang leadership.
Where's he gonna go?
Reflecting years later, he said, quote,
Where's he gonna go?
"It was very discouraging to go through that,
Outside the
to actually
imaginary
come
line?
that close to getting banished. It was scary. I didn't deserve it." The probation department ultimately assuaged the banishment talk by reassuring the public that they would do a good job monitoring Khan. What came next was a reorganization of the native mob that took steps towards stopping internal conflicts and which brought structure to the gang. Geographic reps were named. A man named Chris Worry, aka Lil White, served as treasurer and later as co-chief. Another native mob member named Sean Martinez.
Sorry. I'm so sorry, man. These motherfuckers look all these kids look white than a motherfucker, boy. In the native, man, these motherfuckers strong. I guess the white is more powerful than the native siege. Damn. Yeah, these pale faces is taking over the native land.
Also given the co-chief title at times. The gang started holding councils on the second Saturday of every month, where reps from different areas would take roll call, check in, and discuss various issues and business. Khan and Lil White were also roommates at the same Cass Lake home at 316 Maple Avenue Northeast, which became affectionately known as the White House.
My boy giving out address, location, state, city, zip code, everything. Last name, first name, middle name, everything. Boy.
It was there that Lil White would cook up crack cocaine for distribution, after obtaining powder from various sources around Minnesota. But unlike many of the criminal organizations we've covered here, the native mob did not appear to be raking in millions in drug profits. Members who later flipped and testified against the gang described buying small amounts, even just a few grams, for redistribution. And the big haul of the native mob investigation was a 2008 traffic stop.
Yo, what's up? Hello, you see me? Yeah. Hey, what's up, man? What you doing? Show me some love. Subscribe to the channel. Come on, man.
A couple pounds of pot in a backpack. So unless these informants got it totally wrong or were lying to cover things up, it sounds like the members who sold drugs were scraping out a living by selling to a handful of drug addicts in their areas. That, in turn, made eliminating the competition much more important. Though oftentimes native mob members would simply try to intimidate rival gang members or drug dealers by shooting up their home, rather than going straight to murder, according to the prosecution's own theory. That brings us to 2010, and the aftermath of the Amos LeDuc shooting, when the federal government decided to ramp up the investigation into the native mob. It did so in a typical fashion, by targeting native mob members and associates who seemed willing to turn informant, hitting them with serious charges, then essentially strong-arming them into turning on their brothers. But by their own admission, the federal government had never had much success getting native mob members to flip before this. And in July 2010, just 4 months after the LeDuc shooting, they received another stark reminder of how little the native mob tolerates snitches, when William Morris popped a cup of water in a microwave at the Crow Wing County Jail, let it boil for 4 minutes, then tossed it onto a man named Richard Norton for allegedly cooperating with police. It was just another run-in with what would become a chain of events involving snitches, retaliation, and violence during the investigation. It turned out that the fear of a lengthy prison sentence was enough to break certain people in the gang, and information started coming in. Soon, there was enough evidence to implicate Worry in cocaine trafficking and that MacArthur and Worry were stashing guns at the White House. A warrant was drafted to search the place on February 17, 2011. And though police found some gang indicia, they basically walked away empty-handed. But prosecutors claim that afterwards, MacArthur was furious, and he figured there must be a loose thread. Suspicion started falling on a relatively new Native Mob member named Jeremy Kraske. Like many who joined the Native Mob, Kraske spent much of his life searching for direction. He was born in Minneapolis, but spent part of his
There's a
youth
lot of
in
followers
Cass
out there, bro. There's a lot of followers out there in the world, man. Not a lot of people have the guts to be leaders, so they just follow, and they're just yes, 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 just. And then, but when they do shit, they get caught. They're gonna follow the law, baby. They're gonna snitch. Those are the people you gotta be careful.
Suspicion started falling on a relatively new Native Mob member named Jeremy Kraske. Like many who joined the Native Mob, Kraske spent much of his life searching for direction. He was born in Minneapolis, but spent part of his youth in Cass Lake. He was an avid fisherman, and though he had some arrests for drug dealing in his early 20s, he'd recently found work as a machinist at the Red Lake Reservation. In late 2010, he shocked his mother by telling her, quote, "Mom, you are no longer my family. I have a new family. I'm a part of the Native Mob now." But he was still a devoted family man who loved his children, and on February 25th, 2011, he attended a parents' night for his daughter's high school basketball team, 2 hours away from Minneapolis. Eyewitnesses would later recount that Kraske got a call, told the person he didn't want to do whatever was being asked of him, but then saw Lil White. The two got into a heated discussion, after which Kraske told his daughter that he needed to go to Minneapolis. The following day, Kraske's body was found lying on the snow in the backyard of a South Minneapolis home. He'd been shot once in the back of the head and twice in the abdomen, and there were no indications the gunshots were preceded by a struggle. The Native Mob called an emergency meeting in which two members were told not to retaliate until the gang's leadership figured out who was responsible for Kraske's death. Of course, police were also working hard to figure out who was responsible, and a big break would come just a week later when one of the many informants did a controlled cocaine buy for the federal government. His name was Michael Dope Boy Hasimovich, and he had been wearing a wire for months, not just for drug deals, but to record Native Mob councils. On March 3rd, 2011, he strapped the wire to his chest once again, discussed code words with DEA Special Agent Travis Ocken to alert him if he were to get into trouble, and went to buy a small amount of cocaine from Sean Martinez. But Martinez was in a talkative mood. As U.S. Attorney Andrew Winter would later recount, quote, "In hushed tones, Martinez confided that Kraske was viewed by the gang as a snitch, and that the gang's leader, Joaquin Jan MacArthur, had asked him to commit the murder. Martinez described the middle-of-the-night execution, but urged the informant not to mourn Kraske's death because, as Martinez emphasized, Kraske was bogus." Family members later told police Kraske had been trying to distance himself from the Native Mob, but police say Kraske was not one of the people who'd become an informant. As it turned out, one of the men responsible for the search warrant on the White House was a lot closer to the top of the gang's leadership than the likes of Kraske. 8 months later, Martinez was in jail for a probation violation. By early 2012, the RICO indictment against the Native Mob was secured. All told, 30 Native Mob members were prosecuted in connection with the probe. All but 3 of them accepted plea deals, including Sean Martinez, who admitted to murdering his one-time friend, and took a 43-year federal prison sentence. The three
Was it worth
holdouts
it?
were Anthony Cree and William Morris.
Is that shit worth it? Killing the homie because supposedly he snitched and then going to prison for 45 years? Is that shit worth it? Hell no. See, that's why I never joined no type of gangs, bro. In my life growing up, so many people try to recruit me. I was like, nah, I ain't messing with that. First of all, man, I thought that shit was weak. The way I saw it growing up, if you can't defend yourself and you can't back yourself up, if you can't handle anything by yourself, you're not even a man. If you need people to back you up over something so stupid, you're a bum. You know what I mean? So I felt that shit was weak. You know what I mean? And then when you're by yourself, you're like this. But when your whole group's around, you're the toughest mother. You know what I mean? And I was like that regardless. I was like, I'm quiet and I'm hostile. You know what I mean? By myself. But I never joined the game, man. I would not let no mother tell me what to do, who to do it to, when to do it, why I gotta do it. What you know what I mean? Dumbest reasons. Nah, I'm not throwing my life away for nobody. If I'm gonna throw my life away, it's for my purposes. It's for what I think is right. It is what it is. I'm not gonna let no man tell me, hey, you gotta go do this because I don't like him, so you gotta go handle it. Hell no, that's bummy to me.
The
Bummy
alleged
to
driver
me.
and shooter of Amos LeDuc, and of course, Joaquin MacArthur, who would go on to testify in his own defense, denying all of the allegations and rebutting the notion that the native mob was anything more than a close-knit family. As the trial date got closer, though, prosecutors had to reveal who their confidential sources were, and one name was a bombshell. It was Kenny Roberts, the native mob's war chief, who had agreed to not only aid in the investigation but to testify at the trial. As a matter of fact, Roberts, not Kraske, was one of the confidential informants who had given
Man, they killed the
information
wrong
about the
person.
White House that
They
led
killed the
authorities
wrong
to
person.
serving a search warrant there the week before Kraske was killed.
So they thought the wrong person was snitching, and they killed him. And then this is the snitch, and he's just like, well, they killed him. That could have been me. Uh, Sickening, bro. Sickening. I'm telling you, these game me people are dumb as hell, bro. I ain't trying to sound fucked up, but if I do, then they dumb as hell, bro. They so quick to do some dumb shit, and then when they find out it was wrong, I didn't, no, I didn't. Goofy ass.
But with that revelation came a potential scandal. If the native mob had, in fact, orchestrated a pre-planned murder of one of their own, as the feds claimed, how likely was it that this was carried out without the knowledge of the man assigned as the gang's war chief? And if it was true that Khan and others believed Kraske to be a snitch, who put that idea in their head to begin with? When it came time for Roberts to testify at the trial, he revealed that he had flipped after being arrested for having a gun and cocaine in October 2010, and talked about
10 years
Amos
prison
LeDuc being a
sentence, bro.
target for having cooperated against a native mob member named Muka, who shot his own cousin in a family dispute. But
Or
prosecutors
shooting people.
ended the questioning early, rather than question Roberts about activities on or around February 2011, staving off the defense's ability to cross-examine him about it. When it came time for the defense to argue, they called the Fed's attempt to use the RICO statute the stretch of the century, once again portraying Khan as a peacemaker who was trying to bring structure to the native mob to reduce violence and disorderly conduct, but describing the crimes alleged in the indictment as, quote, impetuous, unthinking conduct by wild, undisciplined boys and young men, as opposed to
Kids.
organized crime.
Yeah, they're kids,
Remember,
bro. They don't know what the
federal
hell's going on.
prosecutors must
They're
not
just going
only
off of
prove the
emotion.
crimes, but that they were part of a criminal organization for RICO to apply. Khan's attorney, Frederick Getz, went a step further than that. Quote, Joaquin MacArthur is as much a leader of this group as anyone could be who has ever tried to herd a bunch of cats, he told the jury.
Damn.
William Morris got on the stand and admitted to shooting Amos, but said it was for personal reasons, and denied even being a native mob member. Similarly, Khan not only disavowed Morris' alleged native mob ties, but called the Amos LeDuc shooting a, quote, cowardly act that he wanted no part of. He testified that he still mourned the loss of Kraske, that it was painful to even think about, and that he knew prosecutors were trying to hurt him by dwelling on the tragedy so much.
Fair, buddy.
I don't qualify for RICO, he said. The native mob was about surviving, that's all. Whether it be amongst ourselves, surviving from each other, surviving the elements of our society. We're a product of society. I was given this world. I didn't make it. In the end, jurors convicted the group of racketeering and other charges, and they were all given decades in prison. Their sentences are still up for appeal, so it is possible that they will earn reduced time as the years go by. But the story doesn't quite end there. In 2019, a native mob member named Dakota James LaFave was sentenced to 366 months in federal prison for assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering. It stemmed from yet another example of witness retaliation 2 years earlier, when LaFave realized he was riding in the same car with a man who'd been part of the native mob and had testified against them years earlier in a RICO trial. The victim was shot in the back, but survived. Authorities have never disclosed his name, but they did release his initials in the charging records, which provide little doubt of who it could be. K.R.
Oh, KR was a snitch.
Same car with a man. Retaliation
Right.
2 years in aid of reference. In 2019, as the years go, these are still up charges.
Trying to see what the hell it was. I forgot the names.
I don't qualify for RICO, he said. The native mob was about surviving, that's all.
I'm trying to see what the names are, bro.
Was painful part of. The Amos Ladimler would quote con
Trying to find the names, you know what I'm saying? Because I forgot what the hell people are.
Against a native mob member named Muka, who shot his own cousin in a family dispute. But prosecutors survived. Authorities have never disclosed his name, but they did release his initials in the charging records, which provide little doubt of who it could be. K.R.
Forgot. It was so many names. KR, who was that? Like, if you guys are watching this, who's KR? I know it was somebody in the group, somebody up there, but I forgot who the hell it was. You know what I mean? But y'all let me know, man. But I'm telling you though, man. Look, you guys do not need to be followers. If you guys want to hang around homies, it's cool to hang around homies. Just don't get involved in stupidity. If you know right from wrong, and you know like you could potentially get caught, harmed, or have some of your family get hurt because of your actions, think about that shit, man. Like, really, you don't have to follow anybody to do things you don't want to do, man. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna betray you. They're gonna stab you in the back, or they might even end up killing you themselves. You know what I mean? There's a lot of back doors these days. A lot of people are turning, and you never know. They might blame you for something that you didn't even do. So just be careful who you hang out with, and do not feel obligated to be a part of something you don't want to be, man. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for your family and stand up for your homies. Just you don't have to be a follower. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Everything that I'm saying is just my opinion. It is, even though I'm talking shit, I say it respectfully. But it's just a lot of dumbery going on. But yeah, you guys let me know, man. Shout out to all my natives. Everybody watching the reaction, man. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys hit the like button, hit the dislike, subscribe to the channel. 1,000 subscribers is the goal. And yeah, man. Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Holla at your boy that essay. Hit the description. You want to donate to my channel? 'Cause I'm a broke ass Mexican. $1, $1.50, $2, $3, a song. You know what I mean? Whatever y'all wanna bless me with, man. Hey, I'll be grateful. If you want me to react to something, let me know what it is, and I got y'all, man. But until then, your homie that I say.